once upon a time, people thought that people who were labelled with things like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, once you had a diagnosis like that your life was over, that there was nothing left for you. And the way thinking has changed to the extent where actually there's more hope for people, and there is the possibility that there will be times when they start to enjoy life, and those times might be more and more.
Service users are not just looking for clinical outcomes, we're looking for services that make a difference to the whole of our lives. And recovery is that kind of holistic term. Quality of life is very wide-ranging, and it's really tapping into what service users want from services and their individual experiences, really.
ReQoL, for Recovering Quality of Life, is a patient-reported outcome measure that looks at what the service user's needs are, what the person wants, rather than focusing on more of a diagnostic, more of a medical model, which is really reflective of the recovery strategy. And ReQoL really gives you a sense of understanding the person rather than understanding the diagnosis. Thank you for filling out this again for me. Can't believe it's been a couple of weeks since we've filled it out. And I can see that things are a little bit better on here. Is that how you're feeling as well?
I am, yes.
ReQoL is a recovery-focused quality of life measure, and there are two versions of the ReQoL 10 and the ReQoL 20. ReQoL 10 has got 10 mental health questions, and ReQoL 20 has got 20 mental health questions, and both have got a physical item as well. ReQoL can be used with mental health service users aged 16 and over, and it covers quite a wide spectrum of conditions ranging from common mental health disorders to quite severe ones as well.
Our trust decided to get involved in the development of ReQoL because we're looking for a new prompt that is suitable for across a range of different needs of our service users. ReQoL is short, it's quick and easy to use, it's jargon-free, it's also really recovery-focused, and it's really exciting to know that we can also use this tool for free within our services.
We know from research that some of the more common clinical outcome measures receive the lowest ratings from service users themselves, that they reflect clinical priorities that don't necessarily reflect service users' own priorities. And recovery and quality of life is definitely something that service users value. It's one of their priorities.
The ones that had changed was I found it difficult to get started with everyday tasks, and I felt hopeful about my future.
I've always found sort of getting going in the morning very tricky. Just basic things like getting dressed.
And it's feeling a little bit easier to get going in the morning, is it?
Yes, it is, because I've set myself targets to actually do things.
As an occupational therapist, ReQoL really meant something to me. There is actually a part that looks at activity, that looks at hopefulness, that looks at hopelessness, and those things are really quite common when you're working with people. And it actually can help you start to set some of the goals with the person around what is it that they'd like to focus on.
The ReQoL measures were developed using a novel way of combining qualitative evidence from service users and clinicians, combined with evidence from the psychometrics analysis. And in that way, by combining these two very rich sources of evidence, we ensured that only the best items were chosen for the ReQoL measures.
We took a whole array of items and we put them to service users in a one-to-one, face-to-face interview, and we asked them, whether the statements made sense, how people would feel answering a questionnaire item like that, whether it was maybe too sensitive, and whether you could answer the question on the particular scale that we were wanting people to answer the statements to. So, actually talking to service users made a real difference in terms of how the final measure took shape.
Being part of the research and being part of ReQoL was absolutely incredible. Going to the meetings and seeing the way that the decisions are made. I was there as an occupational therapist, we had other clinician service users, we had people that are more university based, and it helped us to feel that that's where there's a good question or that's where there's not such a good question.
Everything wouldn't have to feel bad in order for things to be awful.
No, that's right.
There might only just be one thing in your life that's just, I don't know, let's say an important relationship's fallen apart or something.
I think that's a good point, actually, is that it doesn't matter whether it's loads of things or that it's just one thing, and I think we're making potentially we could be making a bit of a judgment if we include that one.
I just think it's been a really important part of my own recovery journey, really, just to have the opportunity to do these interviews and to select items and to be through the process from very near the beginning to the end where we're at now with this great outcome measure that we've got.
I would really hope that both clinicians and service users used it not as just a tip sheet but as a therapeutic tool, something that would facilitate discussion, something that would get conversations going about this is where I am now but this is where I want to be and how am I going to get there.
I'm hoping that ReQoL will become the prom of choice within our trust, and I'm really excited to be part of the implementation strategy. I'm hoping that staff will see the benefit of using it because it's an excellent tool, very recovery focused and person centred, and I hope that our staff members will share the outcomes data and information with service users and it will help support them along their journey of recovery.